Alex McIvor here with Dunnigan Realtors in Sacramento, California. I'm here with another real estate basics videos where I talk about a relatively basic term in a real estate transaction. Today's topic is appraisals. So first things first, what is an appraisal? An appraisal is an opinion of value from a licensed appraiser. Typically, it's going to be ordered by the bank when you are getting your loan, and that's going to let them know how much they are going to loan up to, and that's what the bank is going to use as their estimate of what the home is worth. How is an appraisal different from a home inspection? These two often get mixed up. Whereas a home inspection, they are going to have an inspector there and he's going to test all of the things, make sure, there's no cracks, no issues, and then use that to then make a report. So you can then either go to the seller and, ask for different repairs and at least give you a baseline on the condition of the home and all of the things in it. An appraisal is going to just be an estimate of value. They'll do some other things, like they'll give you the square footage, and if it's a VA loan, they might be keeping an eye out for a few other items that they might be a bit more picky about, but they're not, for the most part, really going to be checking air conditioning to see if it works and then give you a report on how it works, that kind of stuff. They're really concerned with just how much is this home going to be worth. When it comes time to sell it, if the bank needed to repossess it, will they be able to get their money back? And that's why they're giving an estimate of value, and then the bank is going to use that to see how much they're going to loan on. So what happens if the appraisal comes in low? Well, you're going to have some options. Option number one, you can contest the appraisal or order a new one. That's not typically the best route to go because contesting it, unless there's a glaring issue like they got the square footage like very wrong or something like that, or there's a lot better comps that you can actually use, then they might go back and readjust, but typically they're pretty reticent to do so. So your main options are likely going to be ask the seller to come down in price. You come up with cash to cover the difference, a mix of the two. So maybe if it's a $10,000 difference, they come down $5,000 and then you come up with $5,000 cash. Or you can walk away from the deal as a buyer, and if you still have your appraisal contingency, retain all of your security deposit, but you'll likely still be out for the appraisal and for the home inspections. Also, it really depends on the market and the individual home on what you're going to want to do with it. Because if this home, say, had 6 other offers, well, it's very likely that they'll be able to then go to the next person and say, hey, it appraised at this, but we're in contract for, this much more. Would you come up with the difference? And if they say yes and get into contract, well, then that really takes out all of your leverage. That said, if the home has been on the market for a few months and they don't have any other options, and then it appraises low, you're going to be in a much better position to negotiate for the seller to come down in price. So what happens if it appraises over the agreed upon price? So in that case, as a buyer and as a seller as well, you guys are in the clear. It appraised. That's a great thing. Just a note for sellers, if it does appraise high, that doesn't give you a right to try to get more money out of the purchase contract. You already agreed to a purchase price, and this is just saying that, hey, the bank will actually loan on that. I sometimes hear stories where sellers will try to increase, trying to get more money because it appraised over what they're selling it for. Do you need an appraisal if you are paying cash? No, you don't. You could get one if you would like, but typically you're not going to want to shell out, $400 to $600 if you don't need to. So typically you don't want to do that. If you waive your appraisal contingency, do you still have to pay for an appraisal? Yes, you do. So if you waived your appraisal contingency, that's not saying you're waiving getting an appraisal. That's still going to be required by your lender. What you are waiving is the right to back out of the deal and retain your full security deposit if it appraises low. And in effect, what you're trying to say to the seller, and typically the seller's agent should be asking for proof of funds to see if you can cover a gap. But what you're saying is that, hey, if the home appraises low, I will come up with the difference. And you're kind of willing to stake some of your security deposit to say, yeah, that's what I'm willing to do. But if you waive your appraisal contingency and it appraises low, you're going to have a very hard time if you try to ask the seller to come down in the purchase price, because by waiving the appraisal contingency, you basically said that you were going to cover that difference. Lastly, what is an appraisal waiver? So an appraisal waiver, which is not to be confused with waiving your appraisal contingency, an appraisal waiver is something that the lender will give you, basically saying, you know what, we don't actually need to do an appraisal because we think that the home has enough value to cover this loan. So that will often happen if you are taking out a lower loan to value, LTV. So say if you are offering, a 30% down payment in a strong neighborhood on a home that is kind of in the median or, well kept, you're much more likely to get it. If you are, if you are doing a 95% loan to value, say you're only doing 5% down payment, it's a lot less likely that you'll get an appraisal waiver. But appraisal waivers are great. We love them. It just means it's one less thing for us to worry about. And it makes it easier for the buyer. They get to save, $400 to $600. So everyone's happy. If you can get an appraisal waiver, that is wonderful news. And that's all I have for you today on appraisals. If you have any specific questions, drop them below. If you found this video helpful or informative, please give me a like and subscribe. It's very helpful to me and it means a lot. And that's all I got for you today. Thanks so much. Bye.